Chosen one, stay where you are for a moment and listen closely, because this message is meant to remind you of something your spirit may already know. Not everything requires your pursuit. Sometimes the greatest movement happens while you remain still, grounded, patient, and faithful to the path before you. You may have been tempted to run, chase, force, prove, or convince, but there are moments when the wiser choice is to breathe and allow what belongs in your life to find its way toward you. What you thought was delayed may simply be approaching from a direction you could not yet see. Chosen one, stay put. Yes, you heard that correctly. Stay put. Do not panic because nothing seems to be happening. Do not assume that silence means abandonment. Do not mistake a quiet season for an empty season. There are chapters of your life where the most important things are happening beyond your immediate view. You are looking at the surface, measuring progress by what you can touch, hear, count, and immediately understand, while life is quietly rearranging circumstances underneath that surface. You have spent enough time wondering whether you should chase what seems to be slipping away. You have asked yourself whether you should make another phone call, send another message, take another step, prove another point, knock on another door, or force another opportunity. But something inside you has been whispering, wait, that whisper deserves your attention. There is strength in knowing when to move, but there is another kind of strength in knowing when not to move. Everyone celebrates action. Everyone tells you to hustle, pursue, chase, compete, and never stop. But nobody talks enough about the power of standing still when standing still protects your peace, your dignity, your clarity, and your purpose. Chosen one, you are not required to chase everything that is meant for you. Some doors will open because you have arrived at the right moment. Some people will recognize your value without requiring you to beg for recognition. Some opportunities will meet you halfway. Some answers will come after you stop demanding them immediately. And some of the things you have been desperately trying to reach may already be making their way toward you. That is why you cannot allow impatience to make decisions that patience would never make. You have to understand something about timing. Timing rarely announces itself. It does not always send you a notification. It does not always come with a dramatic sign. Sometimes timing looks like nothing. Sometimes it looks like an ordinary Tuesday when your life appears exactly the same as yesterday. Sometimes it feels like waiting in a room where nobody has called your name yet. But waiting does not mean nothing is happening. Think about a seed beneath the soil. From above, it looks as though nothing has changed. The ground appears still. The surface gives no evidence of the work happening underneath. Yet beneath that quiet surface, roots are forming. A structure is developing. The seed is responding to conditions you cannot see. Your life can be like that. You may be in a hidden stage. You may be developing roots before you ever see branches. You may be becoming prepared for something that requires a version of you that has not fully emerged yet. And perhaps that is why you have been asked to stay put. Not because you are forgotten, not because you are incapable, not because you have failed, but because rushing forward could cause you to arrive before the circumstances are ready to receive you. There is a difference between being delayed and being prepared. There is a difference between being rejected and being redirected. There is a difference between losing something and being released from something. There is a difference between silence and absence. And there is a difference between doing nothing and intentionally refusing to force what cannot be forced. Chosen one, stop measuring your life only by visible movement. You have become so accustomed to seeing progress as motion that you sometimes forget that transformation can happen in stillness. Your character can grow while your circumstances remain unchanged. Your wisdom can deepen while your surroundings remain familiar. Your confidence can strengthen while nobody applauds you. Your discernment can sharpen while no new opportunity appears. Your patience can mature while the answer remains unanswered. And when the right moment comes, you may realize that this quiet season was not wasted time. It was preparation. So when I tell you to stay put, I am not telling you to abandon your responsibilities or stop making wise decisions. I am telling you not to let fear make you desperate. Do not make permanent choices because of temporary anxiety. Do not abandon a meaningful path simply because it has not produced immediate results. Do not return to situations that wounded you merely because loneliness became uncomfortable. Do not chase people who repeatedly demonstrate that they do not value your presence. Do not reduce yourself to prove that you deserve a place in someone else's life. Stay grounded, stay alert, stay discerning. Keep doing the work that is actually yours to do. But stop exhausting yourself trying to control every outcome. There is a point where effort becomes desperation, and desperation can make you forget who you are. You do not have to chase every person. You do not have to respond to every provocation. You do not have to explain yourself to everyone. You do not have to prove every accusation wrong. You do not have to convince everyone that your intentions are good. You do not have to compete with people who are running a completely different race. Your responsibility is to remain faithful to what you know is right for you. And while you remain there, watch what begins to reveal itself. Because sometimes people come back when they realize your absence has created a space they cannot easily replace. Sometimes opportunities appear after you stop forcing the wrong ones. Sometimes clarity arrives when you stop asking 10 different people what you should do and finally become quiet enough to hear your own wisdom. Sometimes the next chapter begins when you stop trying to resurrect the previous one. Chosen one, there may be people making their way toward you right now, not necessarily because some mysterious force has commanded them to come, but because circumstances, choices, relationships, and consequences have a way of bringing people together at unexpected moments. Someone may be reconsidering you. Someone may be realizing your value. Someone may be preparing to speak. Someone may finally understand something they once misunderstood. Someone may be changing. Someone may be approaching with an opportunity. Someone may simply be entering your life at exactly the moment when both of you are ready for the connection. But hear me clearly, you do not need to know who they are today. You do not need to obsess over signs. You do not need to search every message for hidden meanings. You do not need to interpret every coincidence as a prophecy. You do not need to become consumed with figuring out exactly when something will happen. Your peace is more important than your prediction. Let life unfold without turning your entire existence into a waiting room. Live, grow, work, learn, create, rest. Take care of yourself. Build what you can build today. Because the purpose of waiting is not to make you stop living. The purpose of waiting is to teach you how to live without needing immediate certainty. That is powerful. When you can continue living well without knowing exactly how everything will work out, you become harder to manipulate through fear. You stop allowing uncertainty to control your emotions. You stop treating every setback as evidence that everything is falling apart. You stop interpreting every delay as punishment. You begin to understand that your life is bigger than one unanswered question. And that is when something changes inside you. You become calmer. You become wiser. You become selective. You stop running after what keeps running away. You stop begging for what should be offered freely. You stop negotiating with situations that repeatedly compromise your dignity. You begin recognizing the difference between an opportunity and a distraction. Chosen one, perhaps the biggest thing coming toward you is not a person or a material blessing. Perhaps it is a new version of yourself. Perhaps what is making its way toward you is confidence. Perhaps it is peace. Perhaps it is emotional maturity. Perhaps it is a clearer understanding of what you will and will not tolerate. Perhaps it is the courage to walk away from something you once thought you could never leave. Perhaps it is the ability to say no without guilt. Perhaps it is the ability to say yes without fear. Perhaps it is the realization that you do not need to be chosen by everybody, because you finally know how to choose yourself. That kind of transformation changes everything. Because once you stop abandoning yourself for acceptance, your relationships change. Once you stop chasing validation, your decisions change. Once you stop living for applause, your priorities change. Once you stop trying to prove your worth, you begin building a life that reflects your worth. And suddenly, the things that once controlled you lose their power. This is why stillness can be so uncomfortable. Stillness forces you to meet yourself. When there is no distraction, you hear your thoughts. When there is no constant activity, you notice your emotions. When there is no person to chase, you notice the part of you that was afraid to be alone. When there is no crisis to solve, you discover what you actually want. And sometimes that discovery is more valuable than the thing you were originally asking for. So stay put long enough to learn. Stay put long enough to observe. Stay put long enough to see patterns instead of reacting to moments. You do not have to answer every question today. You do not have to know how the entire story ends. You only need enough clarity for the next honest step. That is all. One step, then another, and another. There is no requirement that you understand the entire road before you begin walking it. But there are also moments when the next step is not forward. Sometimes the next step is rest. Sometimes the next step is silence. Sometimes the next step is waiting. Sometimes the next step is allowing someone else to make their move. And if someone needs to meet you halfway, let them walk. If someone needs to apologize, let them speak. If someone wants to repair what they damaged, let them demonstrate it through consistent action. If an opportunity is genuine, let it come with substance. If a relationship is healthy, let it be built through mutual effort. If a door is right for you, you should not have to destroy yourself trying to keep it open. Chosen one, watch actions more than promises. Watch consistency more than intensity. Watch character more than charm. Watch patterns more than isolated moments. Someone can say everything you want to hear, but their behavior will eventually tell the truth. You do not need to chase clarity from someone committed to giving you confusion. You do not need to beg someone to recognize what they repeatedly refuse to see. You do not need to convince someone to value you. And you certainly do not need to become smaller so someone else can feel bigger. Stay put. Let people reveal themselves. Let time reveal motives. Let circumstances reveal strength. Let consistency reveal character. Let reality speak. There is freedom in that. Because when you stop forcing outcomes, you gain the ability to observe them. You begin seeing what is actually happening instead of what you desperately hope is happening. And that clarity can save you years. Some of you have been asking, when will they come? But perhaps the better question is, who will I be when they arrive? Will you still be desperate for approval? Will you still accept half effort? Will you still mistake attention for love? Will you still tolerate disrespect because you are afraid of losing someone? Or will you have become so rooted in your own worth that you can recognize the difference between someone who wants access to you and someone who genuinely wants to build something with you? That is the preparation. That is the deeper work, because receiving something valuable requires the ability to steward it wisely. You can ask for a healthy relationship, but you must also become capable of participating in one. You can ask for a new opportunity, but you must also develop the discipline to handle it. You can ask for peace, but you must learn to stop feeding chaos. You can ask for growth, but growth often requires leaving behind habits that once made you comfortable. So perhaps this waiting season is not merely about what is coming toward you. Perhaps it is about what is being developed within you before it arrives. Chosen one, do not rush the process because you are tired of the present. Your present circumstances are not your permanent identity. A difficult season does not mean you are destined for difficulty forever. A quiet season does not mean your story has ended. A lonely season does not mean you will always be alone. A season of uncertainty does not mean you will never have clarity. And a season of rebuilding does not mean you are starting from nothing. You are carrying lessons. You are carrying experience. You are carrying strength you did not know you possessed. You are carrying wisdom purchased through moments you once wished had never happened. Every challenge taught you something. Every disappointment revealed something. Every ending created space for something else. Every time you survived what you thought would destroy you, you learned another reason to trust your ability to keep going. So stay put, not because you are powerless, but because you are learning the power of patience. There is a quiet confidence that says, I do not have to chase what is not ready. I do not have to force what is not aligned with my values. I do not have to panic because I cannot see the entire path. That confidence is not passivity. It is groundedness. It is the ability to act when action is necessary and wait when waiting is wiser. That balance will protect you. Because there will always be people trying to convince you that you are behind. There will always be someone showing you their highlight reel and making you question your own journey. There will always be pressure to move faster, earn more, accomplish more, achieve more, become more. But your life is not a race against another person's timeline. Someone else's chapter does not cancel yours. Someone else's success does not mean your opportunity has disappeared. Someone else's relationship does not mean you have been forgotten. Someone else's breakthrough does not mean your breakthrough is impossible. You do not need to compete with another person's timing. Stay in your lane. Build your foundation. Protect your peace. Do the work. And when the moment arrives, you will be ready to recognize it. That matters more than people realize. Because sometimes the opportunity arrives, but people miss it because they are still obsessed with the door that closed. Sometimes the right person enters, but someone is too distracted by the person who left. Sometimes a better life begins, but someone keeps trying to recreate the old one. Do not let nostalgia make you blind to possibility. What left your life may have left for a reason. What did not work may have taught you something that success alone could never teach. And what is coming next may require you to release your attachment to what came before. So if you have been feeling that strange tension between wanting to move and sensing that you should wait, slow down. Ask yourself what is actually required of you. Not what fear is demanding. Not what loneliness is demanding. Not what ego is demanding. What is wisdom demanding? What is integrity demanding? What is peace demanding? What does the evidence tell you? What do consistent actions tell you? What decision allows you to respect yourself tomorrow? These questions will guide you better than panic ever could. Chosen one, you may not see who is approaching. You may not know what opportunity is developing. You may not know which conversation will change your perspective. You may not know which connection will become meaningful. You may not know which ordinary day will quietly become the beginning of something extraordinary. And that is okay. You do not need the preview. You need presence. Be here, be awake, be attentive, be prepared. Be discerning, and most importantly, be yourself. Do not create a fake version of yourself in anticipation of someone else's arrival. Do not become who you think someone wants. Do not perform happiness. Do not manufacture confidence. Do not pretend you have no wounds. Grow honestly. Heal honestly. Live honestly. The right people do not require you to erase yourself in order to be accepted. And the right opportunities should not require you to betray your deepest values just to enter the room. You are allowed to have standards. You are allowed to have boundaries. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to say, I need to think about this. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to wait. You are allowed to change your mind when new information appears. You are allowed to protect your energy without becoming cruel. You are allowed to remain open without becoming naive. This is what maturity looks like. Not knowing everything, not controlling everything, but knowing yourself well enough to make choices that honor who you are becoming. So stay put, chosen one. Do not run simply because you are afraid of being left behind. Do not chase simply because someone else appears to be moving faster. Do not force simply because silence makes you uncomfortable. Do not destroy your peace trying to obtain something that may require patience more than pursuit. Let the next chapter approach at its own pace while you continue becoming ready for it. And when you feel that old urge to panic, breathe. When you feel the urge to send that unnecessary message, pause. When you feel the urge to return to what hurt you simply because it is familiar, remember why you left. When you feel like your life is standing still, look deeper. Ask yourself what is changing inside you. Ask yourself what you have learned. Ask yourself what you would have missed if everything had happened too quickly. Because perhaps the greatest blessing of this season is not that you are waiting for something. Perhaps the greatest blessing is that you are becoming someone who no longer needs to rush. And that person will move differently. That person will choose differently. That person will love differently. That person will recognize opportunities differently. That person will no longer confuse desperation with destiny. That person will understand that being alone for a season is better than being surrounded by people who constantly make you question your worth. That person will understand that peace is not boring. That person will understand that consistency is more valuable than intensity. That person will understand that genuine connection does not require constant chasing. That person will understand that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is silence followed by disciplined action. So remain steady. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep your heart open, but keep your discernment awake. Continue your responsibilities. Continue your growth. Continue your healing. Continue building. Continue learning. Continue becoming. But release the obsession with knowing exactly when everything will happen, because you may be standing at the edge of a chapter you cannot yet recognize. And while you are wondering why nothing is moving, circumstances may be shifting in ways you cannot see. A conversation may be taking place somewhere without your knowledge. A decision may be forming. An opportunity may be developing. A person may be learning a lesson. A door may be preparing to open. A path may be changing. And you do not have to manipulate any of it. You only have to remain grounded enough to recognize what is real when it arrives. That is why you stay put, not forever, not blindly, not fearfully, but wisely. Stay until you have clarity. Stay until the evidence changes. Stay until your next step is rooted in wisdom rather than panic. Stay until you can move without abandoning yourself. And when it is time to move, you will know because you will not need desperation to push you. You will move with clarity. You will move with courage. You will move with peace. You will move because the time is right, not because fear has convinced you that you are running out of time. And until then, breathe. You are not required to solve your entire life tonight. You are not required to know who is coming, when they are coming, or exactly what they will bring. You are required to live this day well. Protect what matters. Learn what this season is teaching. Keep your standards. Keep your discernment. Keep your heart from becoming bitter. And keep moving in the areas where movement is actually yours to make. Because while you wait, life continues. And while life continues, you continue. And while you continue, you become stronger, clearer, wiser, and more prepared. So chosen one, stay put. Let what is meant to approach through real circumstances, real choices, real effort, and real evidence. Do not chase shadows. Do not build your future around guesses. Do not surrender your peace to predictions. Stay awake to reality. Stay faithful to your values. Stay committed to your growth. And when the next person, opportunity, conversation, or chapter begins making its way toward you, you will not have to become someone else to receive it. You will simply meet it as the person you have spent this season becoming. Chosen one. And now you need to understand something even deeper about this season you are walking through. Because the temptation to move too quickly can become strongest precisely when you are closest to learning what patience was trying to teach you. You may wake up one morning feeling like you have waited long enough. You may feel like you have given enough time, enough understanding, enough chances, enough silence, enough effort. You may look around and say, "How much longer am I supposed to remain here?" But before you make a decision from exhaustion, take another breath and ask yourself whether you are truly being called to move or whether you are simply uncomfortable with not knowing what happens next. There is a difference. Sometimes discomfort is not a warning that you are on the wrong path. Sometimes discomfort is simply the feeling of outgrowing an old version of yourself. You have become accustomed to immediate answers. You send a message and expect a response. You make an application and expect an outcome. You plant something and expect to see the harvest immediately. You make a decision and expect the universe of your circumstances to rearrange itself overnight. But life does not always work that way. Some things take time because they are becoming strong enough to last. Some relationships take time because trust cannot be manufactured in a single conversation. Some opportunities take time because preparation has to meet timing. Some changes take time because you are not only changing your circumstances, you are changing your identity. And identity takes repetition. You have to repeatedly choose patience before you become patient. You have to repeatedly choose discipline before discipline becomes natural. You have to repeatedly choose peace before chaos stops feeling familiar. You have to repeatedly choose yourself before self-respect becomes stronger than the need for approval. That is why you cannot look at one quiet day and decide that nothing is happening. Look at the pattern. Look at the person you were 6 months ago. Look at what used to trigger you. Look at what you no longer tolerate. Look at the conversations you no longer feel compelled to enter. Look at the things you once begged for that you now realize were not even good for you. Look at how your standards have changed. Look at how your understanding has expanded. Look at how you can now recognize patterns that once confused you. That is movement. It may not be the movement you expected, but it is movement. Chosen one, sometimes the answer comes through your own transformation before it ever comes through your circumstances. You keep asking for the outside world to change, while life is quietly changing you from the inside. And when you change internally, the same environment can suddenly look completely different. The same person can say the same thing, but it no longer has the same power over you. The same temptation can appear, but you no longer feel compelled to follow it. The same door can open, but you now have enough discernment to decide whether you actually want to walk through it. The same rejection can happen, but instead of interpreting it as proof that you are worthless, you can understand that not every closed door is a verdict on your value. That is maturity. That is growth. That is the quiet victory nobody sees. And maybe that is what you are being prepared for right now. Not merely to receive something, but to receive it without losing yourself. Because there are people who get what they wanted, and then discover they were not prepared to carry it. There are people who finally receive attention and become addicted to it. There are people who finally receive success and lose their peace protecting it. There are people who finally enter a relationship and abandon themselves to keep it. There are people who finally get an opportunity and become so afraid of losing it that they tolerate everything. You do not want that. You want to become someone who can receive without becoming enslaved by what you receive. You want to be grateful without becoming dependent. You want to love without losing yourself. You want to succeed without becoming consumed. You want to be chosen without forgetting that you also have the right to choose. So stay put long enough to build that foundation. And if someone is truly making their way toward you, let them demonstrate it. Do not do their half of the journey for them. You have spent too much time carrying entire relationships on your back. You have spent too much time interpreting silence. You have spent too much time making excuses for inconsistency. You have spent too much time explaining someone's behavior to yourself because you wanted their potential to be real. Now you are learning to watch, not because you are cold, not because you do not care, but because observation protects you from fantasy. Let reality introduce itself. Let people show you who they are. Let actions accumulate. Let consistency become visible. You do not need to interrogate every moment. You do not need to demand guarantees. You simply need to pay attention. Someone who genuinely values your presence will make room for you. Someone who genuinely respects you will consider your feelings. Someone who genuinely wants to build with you will contribute. Someone who genuinely cares will not require you to constantly prove why you deserve basic consideration. And if someone approaches your life but brings the same confusion you spent years trying to escape, you have permission to say no. That is another reason to stay put. You are not waiting for just anyone. You are waiting while becoming discerning enough to recognize what belongs and what does not. There is a huge difference. Do not romanticize every return. Sometimes people return because they miss access, not because they have changed. Sometimes people return because they are lonely. Sometimes they return because another option did not work. Sometimes they return because they suddenly realize you stopped chasing them. And sometimes they return because they genuinely grew, reflected, took responsibility, and want to rebuild something in a healthier way. Your job is not to guess which one it is. Your job is to observe. Time reveals things that emotion hides. Let time work. You do not have to rush to answer every knock at the door. You can listen. You can ask questions. You can take your time. You can require consistency. You can say, "Show me." And then you can watch. Chosen one, there is nothing wrong with requiring actions to match words. There is nothing wrong with wanting clarity. There is nothing wrong with wanting peace. There is nothing wrong with walking away from situations that repeatedly disturbed your emotional stability. You are not difficult because you want honesty. You are not demanding because you want reciprocity. You are not selfish because you have boundaries. And you are not unlovable because someone failed to love you properly. Do not turn another person's limitations into a definition of your worth. That is one of the biggest traps you have to avoid. Someone's inability to appreciate you does not make you less valuable. Someone's rejection does not erase your potential. Someone's betrayal does not mean everyone will betray you. Someone's departure does not mean your future is empty. You must stop allowing the behavior of one person to become a prophecy about everyone. That is how disappointment becomes bitterness, and bitterness can become a prison. You do not need to become bitter to become wise. You can learn without hardening your heart. You can establish boundaries without becoming cruel. You can become discerning without becoming suspicious of everyone. You can protect yourself without refusing every opportunity for connection. Balance, that is what this season is teaching you. Balance between openness and discernment, between action and patience, between hope and realism, between faith and responsibility, between giving and receiving, between ambition and peace. Because extremes will exhaust you. If you chase everything, you will eventually lose yourself. If you trust everyone, you will eventually be disappointed. If you trust nobody, you will eventually isolate yourself. If you never move, you will become stagnant. If you never wait, you will become reckless. The goal is not to live at one extreme. The goal is to become wise enough to know what the moment requires. And right now, perhaps the moment is asking you to remain grounded. Maybe your biggest assignment is not to force an answer. Maybe your biggest assignment is to become comfortable with uncertainty. That is difficult. You want to know. You want to know who is coming. You want to know what opportunity is developing. You want to know whether the person you are thinking about is thinking about you. You want to know whether your plans will succeed. You want to know whether the sacrifice will be worth it. You want to know whether your future will look better than your present. But sometimes certainty is not available yet, and that does not mean something is wrong. Sometimes you have to walk with enough light for one step while accepting that the rest of the road will reveal itself later. That is where trust becomes practical. Not blind trust, not denial, not ignoring reality, but trust in your ability to respond when reality becomes clear. You do not need to know everything today, because today's version of you is not responsible for solving tomorrow's problems. Tomorrow will bring tomorrow's information, and when it does, you will deal with it. You have survived situations you once believed you could never survive. You have handled conversations you once thought would break you. You have walked away from things you once thought you could not live without. You have adapted, you have learned, you have continued. So why are you assuming you will suddenly become incapable when the next chapter arrives? You will meet it. You will learn what you need to learn. You will make adjustments. You will make mistakes. You will correct them. You will keep going. That is enough. Chosen one, stop demanding perfection from yourself before allowing yourself to move forward. You do not have to be completely healed to deserve a beautiful future. You do not have to know everything to take a meaningful step. You do not have to have every insecurity resolved before someone can genuinely love you. You do not have to become flawless. You need to become honest. Honest about what you want. Honest about what you fear. Honest about what you can handle. Honest about what you cannot. Honest about what you are willing to work on. Honest about what you will no longer tolerate. Honesty creates clarity, and clarity creates direction. So while you stay put, do not simply sit around waiting for something to happen. Use the stillness. Read, learn, work, organize your life, improve your skills, strengthen your relationships with people who genuinely support you. Take care of your body, protect your sleep, create something, save what you can, prepare. The future is easier to receive when you have been preparing for it. You cannot control when an opportunity appears, but you can control whether you are ready when it does. You cannot control whether someone enters your life, but you can control whether you are emotionally prepared to recognize healthy behavior. You cannot control when circumstances change, but you can control how much strength you build before they do. That is your power. Do not surrender it by obsessing over things you cannot control. There will always be something outside your reach. There will always be someone else's decision. There will always be an unpredictable variable. There will always be a part of the story you cannot see. That is life. Your peace cannot depend on controlling the uncontrollable. You have to learn how to remain steady in the middle of uncertainty. And that is why this season can become one of your strongest seasons if you use it correctly. You can become less reactive. You can become more intentional. You can become more selective. You can become more patient. You can become more observant. You can become more grounded. Then when movement finally comes, you will not move from desperation. You will move from strength. And there is a world of difference between those two things. Desperation says, I need this to happen or I will be okay. Strength says, I would love for this to happen, but I will still be okay if it does not. Desperation says, please choose me. A strength says, I am willing to see whether we choose each other. Desperation says, I cannot lose this. Strength says, if keeping this requires losing myself, it is too expensive. Desperation says, I need an answer now. A strength says, I can wait for clarity. Feel that difference. That is where your freedom lies. Chosen one, perhaps you have been asking for a sign when what you really need is discernment, because a sign cannot replace wisdom. You can see a coincidence and still make a bad decision. You can feel an intense connection and still be incompatible. You can experience excitement and still be walking into something unhealthy. You can have a powerful opportunity and still need to ask difficult questions before accepting it. So do not let emotion become your only compass. Use evidence, use wisdom, use patience. Use counsel from people who genuinely know you and care about your well-being. And most importantly, remain honest with yourself. Do not ask a question when you already know the answer, but simply want permission to ignore it. You know that feeling. You feel something is wrong, but you keep searching for one more reason to stay. You see the pattern, but you focus on the exception. You hear the words, but you ignore the actions. You feel exhausted, but you tell yourself you should try harder. At some point, you have to respect what reality is showing you. Staying put does not mean staying stuck. Remember that. You can remain emotionally grounded while changing your circumstances. You can wait for clarity while continuing to prepare. You can stop chasing one person while continuing to build your life. You can release one dream while remaining open to another. You can pause without surrendering. That distinction matters. Stillness is not surrender. Stillness can be strategy. Sometimes you step back so you can see. Sometimes you stop speaking so you can hear. Sometimes you stop pursuing so you can discover whether the other side will make an effort. Sometimes you stop reacting so you can understand what is actually happening. And sometimes you simply need distance because closeness has made everything difficult to see clearly. Give yourself that distance. You may be surprised by what becomes obvious. There are things you cannot see when you are emotionally entangled. You cannot evaluate a situation clearly while constantly fearing its loss. You cannot understand a relationship clearly while constantly trying to save it. You cannot recognize whether something is right for you while obsessing over whether someone else wants you. Step back, breathe, observe, and then decide. Chosen one, there is another thing you need to hear. You are allowed to let people come toward you. You are allowed to stop being the initiator every time. You are allowed to stop carrying conversations. You are allowed to stop making all the plans. You are allowed to stop fixing every disagreement. You are allowed to stop explaining every feeling. You are allowed to create space and see who notices. Not as a game, not as manipulation, not to punish anyone, but to understand reciprocity. If you always do everything, you will never know what the other person would have done. Let them show you. If they care, they can participate. If they want to repair, they can contribute. If they want to know you, they can ask questions. If they want to be present, they can make time. If they want a future with you, they can help build it. You do not have to drag someone into a future they do not have the willingness to enter. And that is one of the most liberating realizations you can have. The people who belong in your life should not need to be dragged into it. Yes, every healthy relationship requires effort. Yes, misunderstandings happen. Yes, people have busy seasons. Yes, everyone has flaws. But there is a difference between imperfection and indifference. There is a difference between struggling and refusing. There is a difference between needing time and repeatedly withholding. There is a difference between making a mistake and making the same choice over and over. Learn those differences. They will save you. Chosen one, perhaps someone is indeed making their way toward you, but do not spend your life staring down the road. Keep living. If they come, you will meet them. If they do not, you will still have a life worth living. That is the posture you want. A full life. A life that does not pause completely because one person has not arrived. A life that does not become meaningless because one opportunity has not appeared. A life that has meaning today. Because if you make your entire happiness dependent on something that has not happened yet, you are handing your present over to your future. Do not do that. Your present deserves to be lived. Eat the meal. Take the walk. Call the friend. Finish the project. Clean your space. Learn the skill. Watch the sunrise. Laugh. Rest. Create. You are allowed to enjoy your life before everything is figured out. You are allowed to smile while waiting. You are allowed to celebrate small victories. You are allowed to experience peace before the big breakthrough. Do not postpone your entire existence until the future becomes perfect. There may never be a perfect moment. There will only be moments you choose to live. And this one is yours. Chosen one, you are not behind. You are not late. You are not disqualified because your path looks different. You are not failing because your timeline does not match someone else's. You are not forgotten because someone else received something before you. Your story does not need to resemble another person's story to be meaningful. Some people arrive early and struggle later. Some arrive late and build something lasting. Some people receive quickly and lose quickly. Others wait, prepare, and receive something they are able to sustain. Do not compare the timing without knowing the cost. You do not know what another person had to sacrifice for what you see. You do not know what they are dealing with behind closed doors. You do not know whether what looks like success is actually peace. So stop measuring yourself against appearances. Return to your own path. Your path is asking for your attention. Your life is asking for your participation. Your future is asking you to prepare. And perhaps the next chapter is not waiting for you to become perfect. Perhaps it is waiting for you to become present. Present enough to recognize opportunities. Present enough to notice red flags. Present enough to appreciate good people. Present enough to stop chasing what hurts. Present enough to hear your own intuition without confusing it with fear. That is another important distinction. Fear often screams. Wisdom can whisper. Fear says, do something right now. Wisdom says, look again. Fear says, you are running out of time. Wisdom says, what is truly yours will not require you to betray yourself. Fear says, if you let go, you will have nothing. Wisdom says, if you keep holding on, you may lose yourself. Learn the voice of wisdom. It may not be dramatic. It may simply feel like a quiet knowing, a calm sentence, a moment of clarity, a realization that does not need to be defended. Pay attention to that. And when you do not know, admit that you do not know. There is power in saying, I am not sure yet. You do not have to create certainty where none exists. You can wait. You can gather information. You can allow circumstances to develop. You can change your mind later. You are not trapped by the decision to wait. Waiting simply means you are refusing to rush, and sometimes refusing to rush is exactly how you protect your future. Chosen one, there may come a day when you look back at this season and understand why everything had to happen slowly. You may realize that if something had arrived earlier, you would have accepted it for the wrong reasons. You may realize that if a person had returned sooner, you would have welcomed them without asking whether they had truly changed. You may realize that if an opportunity had appeared earlier, you would not have had the skills to handle it. You may realize that the delay gave you time to become someone who could distinguish between what looks good and what is actually good. That is priceless. Because not everything shiny is valuable. Not every opportunity is an assignment. Not every connection is a calling. Not every return is a reconciliation. Not every closed door is a tragedy. And not every delay is a denial. Sometimes a delay is simply information you have not received yet. So do not make the delay mean something it does not necessarily mean. Let it be a delay. Let it be a pause. Let it be a season. You do not need to turn it into a prophecy. You need to live through it. And while you live through it, become stronger. Become healthier in your thinking. Become more careful with your energy. Become more intentional with your time. Become more selective with your relationships. Become more honest with your needs. Become more confident in your boundaries. Become more comfortable with solitude. Because the person who can stand alone is much harder to manipulate through fear of abandonment. The person who can enjoy their own company does not have to accept poor company. The person who knows their value does not need constant external validation. And the person who trusts themselves can wait without panicking. That is where you are going. You are becoming someone who can stand still without feeling forgotten. Someone who can wait without feeling worthless. Someone who can release without feeling destroyed. Someone who can receive without becoming dependent. Someone who can love without abandoning themselves. Someone who can move forward without needing everyone to understand. That is the transformation. So when the urge comes to chase, remember this message. When the urge comes to panic, remember this message. When you feel tempted to return to what you already know is unhealthy, remember this message. When you feel like everyone else is moving ahead and you are standing still, remember this message. Stay put. Not because your life is frozen, because your life is forming. Not because you have no options, because you are learning to choose wisely. Not because nobody is coming, because you are learning not to chase blindly. Not because nothing is happening, because some of the most important changes are happening where you cannot yet see them. And when something finally approaches your life, do not abandon your standards simply because you are excited. Take your time. Ask questions. Observe. Feel the energy of the situation, but also examine the facts. Look for consistency. Look for responsibility. Look for respect. Look for mutual effort. Look for emotional safety. Look for honesty. Look for whether the situation allows you to remain yourself. Because what is truly healthy should not require you to become a stranger to yourself. And if something comes toward you but demands that you betray your values, you are allowed to step back. You are allowed to say, this is not for me. You are allowed to release what once looked like an answer. That does not make you ungrateful. It makes you discerning. And perhaps that is the final lesson of this waiting season. The ability to receive without grabbing, to love without clinging, to hope without obsessing, to wait without stopping your life, to move without running, to stand without becoming stuck, to trust without abandoning reason, to believe in possibilities without ignoring reality. That balance is rare, but you are learning it, and you will keep learning it through every chapter that follows. So tonight, tomorrow, and on every day when you feel uncertain, remind yourself that you do not have to force the next chapter into existence. Let it arrive. Let people make their choices. Let circumstances reveal themselves. Let opportunities develop. Let your own character deepen. Keep preparing. Keep living. Keep growing. Keep your heart open to what is healthy and your boundaries strong against what is not. And when the moment comes, You will know that you were not standing still for nothing. You were becoming ready. You were becoming clear. You were becoming grounded. You were learning the difference between what you want and what truly serves you. You were learning that not every delay deserves panic. You were learning that not every silence deserves interpretation. You were learning that not every absence deserves pursuit. You were learning that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply remain where your values are safe and allow the next move to reveal itself. So stay put, chosen one. Keep your feet planted. Keep your mind clear. Keep your standards high. Keep your heart soft but your eyes open. Do not chase what is running away. Do not beg for what should be mutual. Do not force what requires time. Do not confuse waiting with weakness. You are allowed to wait. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to let life surprise you. And perhaps, just perhaps, while you have been wondering why the road ahead looks so quiet, the pieces have been moving in ways you could not yet see. Perhaps the conversation you have been waiting for will happen when both sides are ready. Perhaps the opportunity you have been hoping for will arrive after you have developed the skills to handle it. Perhaps the connection you have been asking for will come after you have stopped accepting relationships that require you to abandon yourself. Perhaps the biggest change will be the one inside you, where you finally stop asking, "When will someone choose me?" and begin asking, "Does this truly deserve a place in my life?" That question changes everything, because now you are no longer waiting from desperation. You are waiting from discernment. You are no longer standing at the door hoping someone knocks. You are building a life so meaningful that whether the knock comes today, tomorrow, or later, you will still be standing strong. And that is when you become truly ready. Not when everything arrives, but when you no longer need everything to arrive in order to believe that your life has value. That is the place where peace begins to feel different. That is the place where waiting stops feeling like punishment. That is the place where stillness becomes strength. And from that place, whatever comes next will meet a different version of you. One who is no longer willing to abandon themselves simply because something beautiful appears at the door. Chosen one, as you continue from this point, remember that the greatest lesson of this season may be learning how to remain peaceful, even when you do not have all the answers. You have spent so much time looking toward tomorrow that you may have forgotten how much power exists in today. You have wondered who is coming, what is changing, when the door will open, and how everything will finally come together. But there comes a moment when you stop asking the future to prove itself and begin trusting yourself to meet it when it arrives. You have made it this far. Do not overlook that. There were moments you thought you would not make it through, yet you did. There were nights when your mind was overwhelmed with questions, yet morning came. There were seasons when you felt completely uncertain, yet somehow you continued. You kept going even when you did not understand the road. That means you already possess something more valuable than certainty. You possess resilience, and resilience is what allows you to wait without breaking. So if nothing appears to be happening right now, do not immediately assume that your life has stopped. Sometimes the quietest moments are the moments when you are being given room to become aware of what truly matters. You are learning to distinguish between urgency and importance. Everything that feels urgent is not important. Everything that demands your immediate attention does not deserve your immediate response. Sometimes the healthiest response is to pause. Sometimes silence gives you information. Sometimes distance gives you perspective. Sometimes waiting allows another person's intentions to become visible. And sometimes your own heart needs enough space to separate what you genuinely want from what you were simply afraid to lose. Chosen one, do not fear that everything will pass you by because you slowed down. The things that genuinely belong in your life will not require you to destroy yourself trying to keep up with them. You may have to work. You may have to prepare. You may have to take courageous action. But you do not have to live in constant panic. There is a difference between dedication and desperation. Dedication says, "I will do my part." Desperation says, "I must control every part." Release the second one. Do your part. Then allow life to do what only life can do. You cannot control another person's heart. You cannot control every opportunity. You cannot control every outcome. You cannot control the timing of every event. But you can control your preparation. You can control your response. You can control your boundaries. You can control whether you remain honest. You can control whether you continue growing. And that is enough. Perhaps someone really is making their way toward you. Perhaps an opportunity is developing. Perhaps a door is closer than you think. But do not let anticipation become an obsession. Do not spend every morning looking for evidence. Do not spend every night wondering whether tomorrow will finally be the day. Live today. Because sometimes the greatest surprise is not what arrives tomorrow, but what you discover about yourself today. Maybe you discover that you are happier than you thought. Maybe you discover that you no longer need the apology you once believed was necessary. Maybe you discover that the person you were waiting for no longer fits the person you have become. Maybe you discover that the dream you once chased was actually based on someone else's definition of success. Maybe you discover that peace feels better than excitement that constantly comes with uncertainty. These discoveries matter. They are part of your arrival. You may think you are waiting for something to arrive, but perhaps something is waiting for you to become ready. And readiness is not perfection. Readiness is awareness. Readiness is knowing your values. Readiness is recognizing what you cannot compromise. Readiness is understanding your strengths and weaknesses. Readiness is being willing to walk away when something does not align. Readiness is being willing to stay when something is worth building. Readiness is being able to receive without immediately becoming afraid of losing. That is the version of you being developed now. So when something does come, you will not need to rush. You will not need to convince yourself. You will not need to create a fantasy around it. You will simply observe. You will listen. You will ask. You will decide. And you will know that whatever decision you make, you will survive it. That is freedom. Chosen one. You are not required to have a perfect ending in order to have a meaningful story. Every chapter matters. The waiting chapter matters. The rebuilding chapter matters. The uncertain chapter matters. The chapter where you thought you were lost matters. The chapter where you had to begin again matters. Because all of those chapters gave you something. They gave you perspective. They gave you patience. They gave you wisdom. They showed you what you could survive. They revealed who truly stood beside you. They exposed what was temporary. They helped you understand what you genuinely value. So do not hate the season you are in simply because it is not the season you expected. There is something here for you. Find it, learn it, use it, and then continue. The road ahead does not require you to carry every old burden with you. You can put some things down. You can forgive without reopening the door. You can remember without returning. You can love someone from a distance. You can appreciate the lesson without repeating the experience. You can release an old identity without disrespecting the person you once were. That person did the best they could with what they knew at the time. Now you know more. So choose differently. Choose peace, choose patience. Choose discernment. Choose self-respect. Choose meaningful action. Choose relationships where effort flows both ways. Choose opportunities that allow you to grow without requiring you to lose your values. Choose a life that feels honest when nobody is watching. And when you finally look around and realize that things are changing, do not forget the quiet season that prepared you for that moment. Remember how many times you wanted to rush. Remember how many times you almost gave up. Remember how many times you wondered whether anything was happening. Then you will understand why patience was not wasted time. It was preparation. Chosen one. Perhaps the message was never simply, they are coming. Perhaps the deeper message was, you do not have to chase. That is the freedom. You do not have to chase every relationship. You do not have to chase every opportunity. You do not have to chase validation. You do not have to chase approval. You do not have to chase people who have already shown you that they are unwilling to meet you halfway. Let what is genuine approach you through genuine effort. And when it does, receive it with gratitude, not desperation. You have nothing to prove, you have a life to live. So stand firm, stay grounded, keep moving where movement is required, and stay still where patience is wiser. Do not confuse stillness with stagnation. Do not confuse waiting with weakness. Do not confuse silence with abandonment. Your story is still unfolding, and you do not need to know every detail to trust the next chapter. The people who are meant to contribute positively to your life will have to make choices of their own. Let them. The opportunities meant for you will require circumstances beyond your control. Let them develop. The future will reveal information you do not possess today. Let tomorrow arrive in its own time. Your task is simple: be ready, be awake, be honest, be discerning, be willing, be patient. And when the moment comes to move, move. When the moment comes to speak, speak. When the moment comes to release, release. When the moment comes to receive, receive. Do not force the moment before it arrives. And do not hesitate when it finally does. Chosen one. Take this final thought with you. You are not forgotten simply because you are waiting. You are not behind simply because someone else's life appears to be moving faster. You are not empty simply because something has not yet arrived. You are not powerless simply because you cannot control the timing. There is still life in you. There is still possibility ahead of you. There is still work to do. There is still growth available. There are still people you have not met. There are still experiences you have not lived. There are still versions of yourself you have not discovered. So do not close the book because you do not like the current page. Turn the page when it is time. Until then, breathe. Stay present. Stay grounded. Protect your peace. Keep your heart open to what is healthy. Keep your boundaries strong against what repeatedly harms you. And keep becoming the person who can recognize the difference. Because when the next chapter begins, you will not need to chase it. You will not need to beg for it. You will not need to force it. You will recognize it by the way it meets you with clarity, reciprocity, consistency, and peace. And if it requires you to abandon yourself, you will have the courage to walk away. If it requires you to become smaller, you will refuse. If it requires you to betray your values, you will let it go. But if it brings mutual effort, genuine respect, healthy growth, and a sense of peace that does not demand you ignore reality, you will know how to receive it. That is the person you are becoming. Someone who can wait without fear. Someone who can receive without desperation. Someone who can love without losing themselves. Someone who can walk away without believing their life is over. Someone who can remain still without feeling forgotten. So, chosen one, stay put when patience is wiser. Keep preparing. Keep living. Keep growing. Keep your eyes open. The future does not need to be forced into existence. Let it unfold. Let the right people demonstrate who they are. Let the right opportunities develop. Let the wrong things pass without chasing them. Let your peace become stronger than your impatience. And when the time comes for you to move forward, you will not move as the person who was desperately waiting for something to save you. You will move as the person who learned that they were never empty, never powerless, and never truly alone in their own journey. You will move with wisdom. You will move with courage. You will move with gratitude. You will move knowing that every delay taught you something, every ending revealed something, every difficult season strengthened something, and every quiet moment prepared something within you. So stay steady, stay ready, stay true to yourself, and remember, you do not have to chase what is genuinely willing to meet you. Let it come with action. Let it come with clarity. Let it come with consistency. Let it come with peace. And until then, keep living the life that is already yours. Because the greatest victory is not simply discovering what was making its way toward you. The greatest victory is becoming so rooted in your own worth that when it finally arrives, you can receive it without losing yourself. And if it never arrives in the form you expected, you can still stand tall, grateful for the journey, confident in your future, and ready for whatever life places in front of you next. Chosen one, stay put when wisdom says wait, move when wisdom says move, and never again let fear decide the direction of your life.